Hello everyone, welcome back. So what's on tap for today? Well, we've got another great reaction video. This time it's one of our favorite senators against Senator Josh Hawley questioning a nominee in regards to a Senate confirmation hearing in regards to why is it that Asian students are being racially profiled against and discriminated against. In other words, why is it that other minority students are being accepted into these elite Ivy League schools like Harvard and Yale and others, while Asian students are being basically kept out? So we'll get into all of that, but before we do so, we just wanted to let you know you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host for today. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't already done so, first time here, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let's get to this video, and let's get a reaction to it as well, folks. Here we go.
About affirmative action in universities. You argued that opposition to race-based affirmative action, I'm going to quote you now, is rooted in part in the belief that racism and systems that imposed barriers based on race in American society no longer exist, end quote. I've been under the impression that the argument was actually the opposite, that race-based affirmative action imposes race-based barriers on particular racial groups. Now, your article was about the Harvard case, so I take it you're familiar with that case. Is that fair to say?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes, I was writing an article following the decision that was made by the First Circuit in that particular piece of Bloomberg.
Gotcha. So the court documents, court filings from that case, from the Harvard case, state that, quoting now, Asian Americans needed SAT scores that were 140 points higher than white students, all other quantifiable variables being equal, to get into these elite schools. The same court filings also show that Asian American students who had the same score as African American students were about 25% likely to get into Harvard, whereas the African American student was 95% likely to get into Harvard. So basically, what the documents show is, and I don't know if there's much dispute about this, that Asian Americans are systemically discriminated against with these race-based policies. That's a problem, don't you think?
Senator, I will say, and thank you for the question, I'm not intimately familiar with the entirety of the report or all of the information that's contained in it. I know it is cited in the case. However, I would say that with the case that was before the court and currently now is on certiorari and coming before the Supreme Court, that the issue of race as a factor in admissions and utilized in universities is obviously what's going to be contemplated by the court, and understanding that the strict scrutiny standard is applicable. It would be a determination as to whether or not there's a compelling governmental interest, and if it's narrowly tailored to afford that interest for all who are asserting the arguments.
Yeah, but is it a problem? I guess my question is it a problem for universities to make it harder for members of a certain race to be admitted to their university, to do it deliberately? Is that a problem?
That's the question that needs to be asked. Exactly what he just said. Is it a problem? Absolutely, it's a problem. That in order to get into a certain university, you've got to be a certain ethnicity, a certain religious class, a certain skin color, a certain minority. I mean, in this intersectionality totem pole, you've got to be something other than basically, white Caucasian American. And why is it that it would be in the state's interest or the government's interest or the university's interest to basically say, you know what, you've got to have a higher score on your SATs or qualifying tests than other minorities just to get in? The reason is, folks, is that Asians score much, much higher on these tests. Why? They're just smarter. And not only are they just smarter, but guess what? There is a cultural aspect to this as well. They study hard. Their parents are there. They're from all groups of Asians coming, whether they're coming from India or Pakistan or the Middle East or Israel, or if they're coming from, China, Japan, South Korea, South Vietnam. If we happen to have any North Vietnamese, North Koreans, I doubt it. But I'm just saying, any of these Asian countries, there is a cultural cachet, basically, or a cultural attraction, a cultural, almost religious in devotion, that studying, grades, education is vitally important, especially here in the United States of America, obviously around the world as well. But when these parents, these immigrant parents come over here, they want their children, they're literally, you hear the stories, right? Of these, what do they call it, tiger moms, right? And kids, that's what they stress upon them, much more so than they do with European children, or children that are coming from Hispanic ethnicities, or from black, from black Americans here. You see the same thing. Nigerian Americans coming from Nigerian immigrants, they've got the highest number of PhDs in Nigerian Americans than anyone else. They stress importance on education. But what's happening here is that if you are too smart, you're too well educated, well, guess what? We can't have a bunch of Asians running around our universities. There'd be too many Asians there. That's exactly what this idiot lawyer is arguing. That's what she's for. That, you know what? The state, the government, you need these. You have to have them. And Senator Hawley is basically saying, no, you don't. That's not right. That is bigotry. That is racism. That is discrimination.
Rob, that's what your article's about. I'm asking, you've expressed an opinion on this, so I'm just asking about your opinion. Don't you think that's a problem?
Senator, thank you for the question. The article was written in the context of really providing, in essence, a procedural roadmap of what had transpired.
Yeah, but you expressed, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, it's just I've got so little time and I have the article in front of me. I enjoyed reading it, but you express your personal views, which is fine, by the way. I'm just asking about them. Your personal views on this case, and you say that the arguments of those who are arguing against Harvard's policies are actually anti-diversity. You say that they fail to overcome a principle that's of paramount importance to the country. I'm quoting you now: diversity matters and its value is immeasurable, especially in education. I'm just asking you whether or not having Asian Americans present and able to be admitted on a fair basis with members of other racial groups, if that isn't in fact an interest that serves diversity. I mean, don't you think that that's important?
Senator Hawley, to your question, and thank you again for it.
I hate when these stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded elites, what I call SIMR, S-I-M-R, these stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded elites basically try to tell us about diversity, and that diversity is good, except when it comes to educational diversity, when it comes to diversity of opinion, diversity of thought. This idiot here, who's a nominee, is basically saying, and they can't own up to what they've written, because they know if they own up to it, if they say, yeah, I wrote that, stand behind your freaking writing. Just stand up and do it. Have the moral courage to say, yes, you know what, I wrote that. I'm not going to dance around it. Yes, I do believe that, you know what, if you're black, you need some help to get into some of these schools. And if you've got an Asian person and a black person and they're both equal in everything, well, guess what? That Asian person, he better have a higher SAT score, a higher score in some testing aptitude, because if not, you can't let him in. You got to put the black person in, got to let the Hispanic go in, got to let the other one go in. These guys are just absolute morons.
What has been stated by the court through years of dialogue and deliberation over this specific issue of affirmative action is that diversity matters.
And does that include for Asian Americans?
For everyone.
And that's your personal opinion too?
I'm stating based upon how the court has, I'm not putting my personal opinion. I believe that if I'm so fortunate to be confirmed to the district court, that my personal opinion would have no role in the deliberations that I would conduct. I would base all of my decisions on the facts presented, the arguments presented by counsel and or the individual litigants, as well as the law, and apply the law and precedent to whatever's presented to me.
But you surely could agree with the statement at this level of generality that deliberate discrimination against Asian Americans is wrong. Is that fair to say?
Senator Hawley, I say that discrimination is prohibited, and people who are discriminated against under the law, obviously, the work I also do in terms of employment discrimination, if someone is discriminated against based on a protected category, that is something that that's protected against under the Constitution.
But it's not wrong. I mean, you can't just say it's.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You just can't say it's wrong. It's always like to think a little bit. And you saw that, you asked the question, do you think that discrimination is wrong against Asian Americans? Pause, 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 pause. And I hate it when they say, Senator, thank you for the question. You're not thanking the senator for the question. You can't stand the question. You don't want the question. That's all that means, Senator. Thank you for the question. God, I hate that. That is so absolutely monotonous. It is stupid. It is idiotic. It is moronic. It is retarded. Senator, thank you for the question. Come on, that's just a bunch of crap. It's hypocrisy. And this black attorney here, I'm not gonna give you my personal opinion. I mean, well, that's what we want to know. We want to know what you think. Do you think it's okay that Asian American students are being discriminated against? And they absolutely are. And that needs to stop. So what if you have 80% population of Asian students at a university or 90%? It should be on meritocracy, on merit. And now you're seeing some colleges, universities, even some high schools, they're getting rid of what? Graduation ceremonies that have, in terms of, who's going to be the, like the valedictorian, the salutatorian. I mean, they're getting rid of this. They're getting rid of rankings because they say it's just, not fair to the other students. It's just not right. I mean, all the other students are going to say, well, how come that person's number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, and 5, and I'm like number 20, I'm like number 100. It doesn't feel right to me. You're going to hurt their feelings by doing this, getting rid of all kinds of accomplishments, basically saying, you know what, pass, fail. No more A, B, C, D, E grades, F grades, nothing like that at all. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And it's happening at our elitist, woke universities. And it needs to stop. And these people need to sue. They need to, again, this is how you work the system, folks. You hit it in the pocketbooks. You continually, this is what you need to do to make policies, to get rid of policies, to make policies in your favor, to get rid of the ones you don't want. You've got to go and find out where is the money and file lawsuits and win those lawsuits. That's how you're going to change things. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did making it. And you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host for today. My name is Dr. Nasir. First time here, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell so you get notified of other current content that we have. Check out our other videos. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.